maybe why don't we begin with, you talked about the Jewish Jesus. You've talked about kind of understanding the Bible in a holistic way, because I would imagine that the vast majority of Christians don't look at the Bible that way. Yeah. I probably don't look at that way as much as I should. So maybe talk about that, because I know that you were responsible in great part for the, what's it called, Great Adventure Bible Timeline.
Yeah, the Great Adventure Bible Timeline came out 2 Septembers ago, and that's Jeff Caven's Bible Timeline, teaching the Bible in a way that you get the overarching story and then understand everything in light of that. Just an incredible, gifted Bible teacher. Was part of that with putting that into a Bible with Mary Healy, Peter Williamson, and then Jeff Cavens and myself, and then this is it. And it's got
Ascension did a great job.
Well, it's got the timelines in there. It's got lots of maps. It's got all Jesus' words in red.
Should you teach out of this? Is this your personal Bible? Wow, you read the Bible a lot.
So, it's like faded jeans. You can buy it that way, right? I usually teach out of other Bibles, but this is the one that I assign for the students, because having the essays and having all the kind of, it's taken away the need to have other books to do that work for me. So
that's awesome.
But yeah, so doing that and doing Bible studies with Ascension. So we just did Romans. It's an 8 DVD series. They just came out last September, Jeff Cavens and myself. One of the most exciting moments in Bible scholarship in the last 30, 40 years is an insistence on situating Jesus in his first century Jewish context, and situating Paul likewise in his first century Jewish context.
Okay, can we break that open then? So what does it mean to see Jesus in his first century Jewish context, and maybe begin with how we just view him and why that's problematic?
I mean, so there's a couple different, I guess, ways we could dive in and layers to it, but let's start with this: the cynic Jesus, the hippie Jesus, the just be nice to everybody. I mean, this is for me my conversion. Like the just be nice gospel. I mean, Confucius could have taught me that. Plato could have taught me that. What difference does Jesus make? The just be nice Jesus, the hippie Jesus, he doesn't get crucified. Historically speaking, that makes no sense at all, unless you've got a really low view of the Jews, the ancient Jews, that they would just crucify someone for saying to love people. That's frankly historical nonsense. So I think even at an apologetic level, the kind of sometimes our kind of revisionist views of Jesus, like they actually have to make sense in light of Jesus' first century Palestinian context. So the only way Jesus gets crucified is because he catches the attention of the authorities, both Jewish and Roman. And that's only going to happen because he's perceived as politically and religiously subversive. It's not because it would not have been subversive or interesting or exciting or even thought-provoking to say, hey, love people, because love your neighbor as yourself. That's in Leviticus 19. That's not actually new. All right. So I think when, for me and the projects that I'm excited to be involved in, one, I think it's done a lot to restore confidence in the historical Jesus. Okay, because the gospel writers themselves, it's all laced with the first century Jewish context, whether it's political debates, Sadducees, Pharisees, the geography. This is all about the humanity of the incarnation, right? The human, God didn't drop down a Platonic philosophy. He didn't drop down an idea. He became one of us. He encountered us in space and time. And that's why it's not like Middle Earth. I mean, going to the Holy Land, doing pilgrimages over there, these things happened in places you can go to this day. I mean, where did Zeus live, right? Where did Osiris live? Where are the missionaries of Osiris? From the beginning, you got missionaries of Christianity, missionaries of Jesus. And then when you've got the biblical story, the story of the rise and fall of the Davidic kingdom, which we could get into more, but then the kind of Second Temple context. So the Jewish writings that are contemporaneous with the Dead Sea Scrolls. You've got a number of things that have really opened our eyes to this Jewish context. And what I love showing students is how Jesus taps into and transcends that Jewish context. That these things are intelligible in Jesus' day, but they're not exhausted by Jesus' time period. In other words, you can't explain Jesus merely as a product of his own day, historically, but what he says and does make sense, does register. And my conviction is, when you have the sense for the context, it registers even more profoundly. So it's not as if you never want to bury the meaning to the there and then, but if you have an appreciation for how it would have sounded to a first century Jew, it redounds all the more loudly.
Hey, if you enjoyed that clip, you will absolutely love the full interview, so click right there to enjoy the whole thing. Also, a big thanks to these groups who made that interview possible. Learn more in the show notes below about these guys. They're absolutely incredible and honored to have them as sponsors. Oh, and also, if you haven't subscribed yet, click subscribe and then that bell button. That way YouTube will be forced to let you know when we put out more content.